Yeah, it's a little bit awkward that Robyn's here. Of course, we're not on the best of terms.
The finances news just dropped, and they're totally unbelievable. Christine Brown's new book isn't only spilling dirt on Kody's controlling nature. It reveals an amazing $120,000 in TV production perks that contradicts everything this family has been claiming about their finances, struggles for over 10 years. Let me set the scene here. You've been watching a family declare that they can't afford their children's health insurance while residing in massive houses that they're declaring they can no longer afford. You've been witnessing the wives fret over paying for medication and trips to the doctor. You've been seeing apparent money woes unfold right there on your television screen. But check what was really going on when the cameras weren't filming. That very same family was receiving production perks worth more dollars than most folks viewing the show earn in 1 year. The irony is staggering when you actually consider it. Christine's book illustrates that while we were sitting home watching them fret about making daily bills, the Brown family was actually getting huge payments and bonuses that totally reverses the entire story we have been hearing in its head.
My desire and intention has always been to have a good relationship with Christine. That's what I'm putting forward.
We are talking about benefits that could have covered Truly's hospital bills, resolved their insurance problems, and eradicated the money stress that clearly gave them so many arguments in their household. But here's where it gets even more screwed up. Kody is now allegedly attempting to silence Christine from speaking about portions of their TV show contracts. The same man who dictated every aspect of her life for decades is now still attempting to dictate what she speaks about, even after she escaped his controlling behavior. What Christine is saying reveals a scripted falsehood that far exceeds the common tricks of reality television. This was not merely editing what to reveal and what not to reveal. This was actually lying about how they actually lived with enormous advantages that would have solved the very issues they were creating into melodrama for TV watchers to look at.
Because these relationships do need to get mended.
We've had such a struggle with this. I'd almost rather just take some time to get in a better place with you and me.
What makes this all the more frustrating for those who have seen the show for years is the way that they use the money issue storyline to justify so many of Kody's controlling behaviors. How many times did we hear that they needed to relocate due to money issues? How many times did they say the wives' arguments were the result of financial stress when the family was getting huge checks from the reality television show? That $120,000 figure is not merely a made-up figure. It's evidence that they totally deceived the audience of their show. Every woman who's ever had to tighten her family budget while watching this family's staged money woes deserves to know what was actually happening behind those well-choreographed TV scenes. But the biggest surprise lurking in Christine's book is not about the cash. It's about an entire regime of control that extended far beyond what was visible on the cameras, encompassing covert rules and bargains that trapped family members in artificial performances that were subtly eroding who they actually were. And that's when Kody's true self emerged in just the manner you'd anticipate. The moment the second Christine began spouting uncomfortable truths in her book, the same controlling behavior that dominated their entire marriage reasserted itself.
Listen, I have this wife. Her name is Robyn, and she would never let me do anything naughty. As bad as I want to do it.
Individuals close to the situation report that Kody has been insisting on restrictions regarding what Christine can or cannot speak on publicly. This man, who dictated her daily life, her emotions, and even her spiritual beliefs for years, appears to believe he can still dictate terms on her book following their divorce. It's surprising when you consider how events transpired. Christine finally breaks free from over 20 years of domination, finds true happiness with David Woolley, and establishes her own money-generating arrangement. But Kody behaves as if he can still control her narrative and shut her up if it's damaging to the reputation he has established for the world to witness. What is truly insightful is the very topics that somehow trigger Kody's insistence on silence from her. From what insiders claim, he does not care if Christine discusses her intimate feelings or the challenging moments of their relationship. Those facts indeed contribute to his tale of being the one who was hurt. The actual concern strikes when Christine discusses the secret manner in which the show was produced and the actual money circumstances that disagree with what they presented to everyone. This is more than simply protecting his reputation. This is about preserving an entire method of conducting business on the basis of artificial authenticity. When Christine demonstrates the disparity between what they claimed about being in hard times and what actual benefits they enjoyed, she's essentially demonstrating the truth about a television production that depends on folks believing that they genuinely had money issues. The mind games in these efforts at silence are of the same sort that characterize their marriage. Kody would withdraw his care and attention whenever Christine refused to obey his rules. Now he's attempting to withdraw help or collaboration whenever she brings up facts from their history that he doesn't want to hear. But what makes this attempt to continue controlling her so feeble is that Christine no longer depends on his okay, his generosity, or his wealth. The influence he had for so many years is lost. Nevertheless, he's still using the same tired tactics that kept her acquiescing for more than 20 years. The humorous aspect improves even further when you realize that Kody's requests for her to be quiet are really drawing more attention to the things he is trying to conceal. Every time he attempts to divert her narrative, it only brings out how much he doesn't want certain realities revealed to people peering in. Meanwhile, Christine is discovering something powerful that every woman who escapes a controlling arrangement learns at some point or another. The man who dictated to you for years what you couldn't discuss or do has no authority over what you disclose once you're out of his control. But these requests to be quiet reveal something worse about the secret rules that govern this family's entire TV existence. Rules that went far beyond normal show regulations and established a system of control that reached into every aspect of their personal lives. The show rules that Christine discusses in her book resemble instructions for handling a difficult situation, not the typical framework for a TV show. These were not merely the routine rules against addressing the camera directly that you find in any program deal. These were complete sets of guidelines on how to behave that dictated how the family could express their emotions, what topics they were not allowed to cover, and even how they were supposed to manage their own feelings while being taped. Christine reports she spent years lying on television because the alternative was handling Kody's fury when the cameras went off. The secret rules created a system wherein actual feelings were punished, but pretending all was well was rewarded with continuous show benefits and at least some regard from Kody. The most frightening aspect of these secret rules was how they addressed family battles. From what Christine says, they couldn't discuss some fundamental issues directly on camera, even if those issues were destroying their family relationships off-air. Instead, they had to translate actual concerns into storylines that kept the central concept of the show alive. Consider what that does to your head, having to pretend to be happy when you're actually angry. Christine discusses smiling and participating in family activities with a smile on her face, yet within, she was trying to figure out a way to escape. The commitment ceremony and sand-flowing scene becomes so disturbing when you realize she was thinking to herself, I'm not even going to be staying, all the while telling everyone she was committed to having the family stay together. These hidden regulations also governed discussions of money to protect the show's favored narrative. The family would not be allowed to discuss their actual pay or benefits, so viewers observing experienced false money concerns, while the family experienced substantial assistance from the show that would have resolved most of their reported cash problems. The regulations extended beyond individual behavior into how the family collaborated. Christine explains that natural conversations or actual emotional moments were frequently interrupted or altered due to what the show required. Genuine family decisions needed to endure what the narrative demanded, so their actual lives took a backseat to what viewers saw on television. Perhaps the worst aspect was the way secret rules created a system under which some members of the family were allowed to reveal more truth than others. Christine discusses always being observed and corrected when her actual reactions were not what the show wanted, whereas others within the family were allowed more space with regard to how they existed on television. The rule system even dictated how they were allowed to discuss their religion and life with multiple wives. Although the Małe Exechene series tried to present plural marriage in a positive manner, the family could not actually share their real religious moments or address the real tough aspects of their lifestyle in plain terms. What emerges from what Christine discusses is a picture of a family trapped, not just by their beliefs and the way their marriages were arranged, but by a TV contract that required them to sacrifice their actual selves for over 10 years. The unstated rules didn't only manage their TV performances, they altered the ways in which they could relate to one another and cope with their own lives. But the largest covert rule Christine exposes is the way the family had to cope with the increasing indications that their church, the Apostolic United Brethren, was doing the same deviant things as the FLDS they insisted they were different from. Let's see some figures that will leave you angry. While Christine was being straight up frightened over hospital bills and hospital rooms they claimed they couldn't afford to pay, the Brown family was receiving $120,000 worth of show benefits simultaneously. While Janelle discussed pinching pennies on food budgets on TV, they had benefits that could have paid for meals for their large family for months. Though they claimed money issues compelled them to make those big decisions to Flagstaff, they had pay arrangements most American families would be jealous of. The money double standards extend so far that they essentially invalidate every cash-driven plot more than 14 seasons. Remember those dramatic scenes in which the wives warred over the division of resources, those tough conversations regarding who received what portion of the family fortune, those melancholy moments regarding uncertainty with money, all of it a facade performed while big show benefits went into their wallets. Christine's book reveals that the family's actual transactions with finances were completely opposite behind the scenes of what was presented. They weren't actually struggling to make ends meet or pay bills like they portrayed. The financial strain that appeared to lead to so many fights between families was largely compensated for the show's narratives, as they enjoyed good money security from their television contract. This creates a very cruel twist when considering how many people viewing empathized with their financial woes. Families across America witnessed the Browns deal with cash problems that appeared to be their own genuine issues, not realizing they were viewing acts paid for by pay deals larger than most viewing families earn in a year. The health insurance crisis becomes even more infuriating when viewed from this angle. Christine discusses actual concern for Truly's healthcare and not being able to provide good health protection. But if the family received $120,000 in show benefits, why couldn't they utilize that to ensure their children received proper medical attention? What kind of money decisions allow luxury show benefits to occur when children lack fundamental health security? The arrangement goes beyond one money decisions to the larger narrative they provided to America. They presented themselves as a common working polygamous family, trying their best in an odd arrangement. They invited the public to see them as people you can identify with having ordinary issues. Simultaneously, they had cash advantages that placed them in an entirely different place than the folks they claimed were similar to them. Worse is how this money deception blended with their spiritual speeches. They used their program to promote a lifestyle they claimed was beneficial to the soul, even with sacrificing items. They told of discovering happiness and purpose in simplicity and sharing things, but their real money arrangement had display benefits that removed most of the sacrifices they described. The $120,000 figure also raises huge questions regarding whether the show was produced and how it deceived viewers. If a reality show's premise is all about money hardship, shouldn't the public be aware when their hardship is alleviated by TV pay? When does choosing what to broadcast become outright falsehood? Christine's posts demonstrate how the family manipulated money anecdotes to direct both when people felt sympathy for them and how the family functioned within. Wives needed to express gratitude for resources that were truly guaranteed through their television bargains, not out of Kody's generosity as the patriarch. But money double standards are only the beginning when it comes to the outright deception that producer Tim Gibbons discovered was destroying his entire scheme for civil rights. Producer Tim Gibbons entered the life of the Brown family in 2009 with an aim that was both ambitious and somewhat uninformed. He genuinely believed that he could utilize their story to make polygamy appear to be an issue of rights and potentially alter laws in America. He wasn't merely producing TV entertainment. He was conducting a social experiment designed to normalize plural marriage by presenting it in a positive light. He thought that if ordinary Americans were exposed to multiple wives living as a family that didn't fit the FLDS stereotype, attitudes would shift to embrace it and legitimize it. No frilly old-fashioned dresses, no closed-off living rooms, no overt dominance by the man. Just an average suburban family with a different marital arrangement coping with daily problems while demonstrating that multiple wives might be advantageous, agreed upon, and beneficial for everyone. Tim's rights arrangement depended entirely on the Browns being actually unlike the destructive polygamous cults most people envisioned. He wanted them to represent a higher type of plural marriage that offered women their own decision, prioritized children, and worked through actual choices not coerced by religion. His entire work name was at stake to demonstrate that the Browns were something fundamentally different from groups like the FLDS. For over 10 years, Tim invested his career into filming what he believed was evidence that polygamy could exist without inherent harm. He recorded hours and hours of family conversations, joyous moments, and everyday things that appeared to support his concept. The Browns appeared to demonstrate that plural marriage could be intelligent, capable women embracing their family model by design. But Christine's book illustrates that Tim was essentially being bamboozled from the beginning. The Browns were aware that their church, the Apostolic United Brethren, was engaging in the same destructive activities as FLDS groups they claimed they weren't similar to. They were aware that their lifestyle involved the same man-overboard control, money games, and emotional damage that characterized the polygamous lifestyles Tim was attempting to illustrate could be changed. The harsh reality hit when Christine's exit demonstrated everything Tim had been fighting against. Suddenly, Kody became the very sort of controlling abuser Tim's work was intended to demonstrate was not present in modern families with more than one wife. The bossy behavior, the control of money, the silencing feelings, the imposing with religion, all the negative patterns Tim believed he was exhibiting, weren't there started to be difficult to overlook. Christine explains that Tim wept when she said to him she was leaving Kody, and his emotion makes complete sense when you understand what her departure meant for his career record. She wasn't simply ending a marriage. She was reducing the central theme of his life's work. Each show segment he'd produced, each speech he'd given, each moment of apparent family harmony he'd captured was now considered evidence of a grand performance. The rights argument Tim sought to advance through their narrative disintegrated entirely under Christine's posts. Legislators in Utah were unable to imagine polygamy as a rights issue because it was still bound up in inherent harm and coercion. Even Christine describes how they were forced to abandon the rights concept and consider whether or not it was possible to end harm, which pretty much asserts that polygamy as they practiced it could not be separated from its negative aspects. Tim's test didn't merely fail. It did it all wrong in a major way by providing decades of accounts demonstrating just why polygamy remains a problem, even in its purported improved forms. Christine's actual account became the evidence against all Tim attempted to demonstrate, and the heavy burden of that work and right-wrong judgment at last prompted him to leave the work entirely. But Tim's departure reveals something even uglier about how the residual show crew has been coping with presenting residual lies built into their entire series. Christine's largest stake isn't about Kody's cruel behavior or the church's double face. It's about her own role in a 10-year deception that tampered with millions of individuals who thought she was real. She takes responsibility for lying on camera frequently, smiling on the outside to leave on the inside, and being in situations where, in her mind, she was pushing away from all she appeared to be. The commitment ceremony scene becomes extremely frightening when viewed in Christine's actual perspective. Where the cameras recorded what seemed like a genuine family vow ceremony, Christine, in her mind, was thinking how she was going to escape. She mentions considering, "This is absurd, and I'm not even going to be remaining," as she poured sand into a togetherness container and verbally stated her vow to family unity. The psychological toll of maintaining these artificial behaviors for over 10 years is enormous when you consider what Christine endured. She had to smile with an empty heart, express gratitude being manipulated with money, and be obedient to the family while being shoved down and relegated to secondary status in her own house. But the not telling truth was not only to spare her feelings. It was a means of being safe in a system that punished being authentic and awarded points for conforming. Christine reports that authentic feeling brought about Kody's withdrawing of care and attention, and not telling truth became necessary in order to maintain any connection to her husband and receive basic consideration for her children's needs. The most heartbreaking aspect of Christine's taking responsibility is the way the necessity of not telling truth extended into her children's existence. She had to present pretend okay with a lifestyle that harmed her family and presenting her daughters to receive treatment that she knew damaged their sense of self-worth and what they deserved in relationships down the line. Christine says that she felt better when she finally quit pretending and began being genuine on camera. But that genuineness immediately triggered Kody's withdrawing and exacerbated his controlling tendencies. The setup was made to punish saying truth and reward tricking, which shows why the family ways got more harmful as people started showing true feelings. The size of the tricking goes way past one person's not being honest into full misshowing of life in a family with multiple wives. The people watching their emotions poured into what they believed were true accounts of another existence, unaware that they witnessed staged acts designed to promote a particular religious and social agenda. What makes Christine's refusing to tell the truth to admit fault so complex is the way that she views it as both necessary to preserve herself and her own fault. She feels guilty about deceiving people viewing, while also being aware that if she were to tell the truth, it would have yielded far worse outcomes for herself and her children within the family structure. The game of not telling the truth also involved elaborate teamwork among family to maintain the same lies over several talk sessions and family gatherings. Christine discusses how she had to remember which interpretation of things they presented to everyone and what actually transpired in secrecy, creating an exhausting double thinking that lasted for years. But perhaps worst of all, about the inherent not telling truth, is how it kept protected and permitted to occur the very damaging church ways that the show indicated were other than. By presenting a scrubbed-up version of life with multiple wives, they were essentially concealing active injury in their faith community while receiving cash good from that incorrect representation. The moment Christine began not lying and began talking facts, the entire foundation of the show's concept started crumbling down, demonstrating why Kody became so desperate to keep her silent about what their life was actually like behind the scenes and off the fabricated plots. And that is when the group of longtime viewers began connecting things that revealed an even more disturbing picture of built-in control. The online world went wild the second Christine's book shares started spreading, and the response from longtime Sister Wives watchers has been quick, strong, and totally ruining for what's left of the show's trust. Facebook groups that used to stand up for the family are now full of posts from women feeling played and let down by more than 10 years of built-in tricking. The comment sections speak a story of everybody waking up that's sad and strengthening. Women are talking about how they related to Christine's so-called money bad times while balancing their own mini-home budgets, unaware that they witnessed someone with six figures show good who pretended poor for fun value. Sewing groups and reading clubs around the country are working through the mind mix-up of having put feelings into what they thought was real, showing of a different family life. These aren't just people who watch now and then saying they're upset. These are real Browns fans who defended the Browns with bad language, supported their work, and genuinely believed they were standing behind a family that was courageously living their real lives. The disappointment is that much greater for viewers, who also found Christine to be someone with whom they could identify and dealing with recognized issues. Any woman who has ever stretched a food budget to last with Christine fretting over home expenses should be angered at being guilt-tripped over fabricated concerns. School parent conversations and group chats are filled with shares as mothers realize they saw someone become anxious as a parent while enjoying financial security that would have eliminated most parent anxiety. Watching Christine's parent struggles being primarily scripted during actual mom's experienced actual lack of things has created a strong sense of being manipulated that extends way beyond typical reality TV disappointment. Social media observations reveal that longtime viewers are experiencing what brain specialists refer to as hurt from feeling disappointed, the precise sense of harm that occurs when someone you have trusted deceives you for a long time. These aren't viewers angry about normal reality TV edits or selecting stories. These are people realizing that they were intentionally misdirected about fundamental aspects of the family's actual arrangement. The shrillest foul words belong to women who assisted Christine's system peddling work based on her appearing genuine with money. They purchased things believing they assisted someone actually working hard to earn their own money means, only to realize Christine's money independence was actually assisted a great deal by show pay and benevolence. Religious community responses have been equally emphatic, with many polygamous families feeling that the Browns' deception has harmed genuine efforts to represent their lifestyle in authentic terms. Christine's revelations of knowing that their church was harmful and presenting it to all as set in the right way has provoked anger among groups that were actually trying to break out of bad paths. The trickle-down effect is affecting school and action groups where the Brown saga was presented as evidence that polygamy could be without inherent damage. Individuals who were studying and protesting, and who had used their family as an example of fixed plural marriage, are now coming to terms with the fact that their example was essentially fabricated through selecting what to say was true and covert money arrangements. But the group response that is generating most momentum is viewers demanding answers, not only from the Browns, but from the television network and producing company who allowed and profited from this inherent deceiving for over 14 years. And that's when the payback ride arrived just on time, with outcomes that appear nearly crafted from above to balance things. There's a humor side to the world, and at the moment it's producing results that Kody Brown is not able to contain. While he spent most of the years living every aspect of Christine's money freedom, she is now experiencing actual success with David Woolley. While Kody struggles hard to maintain a setup constructed entirely on artificial realness that is disintegrating faster than the public image he created for himself, Christine's money change is a class lesson in how payback operates when women finally extricate themselves from money management. She transitioned from requesting basic household expenses from Cody to owning properties to lease for vacations and establishing genuine work opportunities that do not entail dramatizing bad times for entertainment worth. Meanwhile, Cody's means of making money are tied directly to holding plots that become less real each time Christine speaks. The flipped-around humorous aspect comes even more into its own when you consider when events occurred. Kody wasted years playing games using money control as his primary means, withholding information whenever Christine failed to comply or exhibited genuine emotions that weren't helpful in his desired narrative. He kept her wanting his approval with money while enjoying show good that could have provided her with her own security. Now, Christine enjoys money freedom that Kody worked so hard to suppress, while his own money opportunities depend on keeping folks hooked on a story that she's dismantling step by step with her truth-talking. Every aspect of her book could lose him viewers, meaning less cash from a show already suffering from trust issues. The vacation rental business that Christine established with David represents everything Kody was most afraid of regarding her being independent. She's earning money through her own endeavors and cleverness rather than requiring his head-of-household method of doling out things. She's making her own money decisions rather than seeking his approval for every expenditure. But the repayment extends beyond mere money flip to who controls the narrative. Kody shared which stories could be told, how family events were viewed, and what spin on their world was shared out for many years. Christine had to run her lives through his approval and pretend to be glad that benefited his desired family story. Now she operates her own story completely, while Kody realizes he can't control the stories being told about him more and more. Christine's book shares are making headlines coverage that he can't alter or move. Her true voice is masking his attempts to repair harm, and his pleas for silence are merely amplifying the very things he's attempting to suppress. The payback in money becomes more vivid when you notice how Cody's bossiness is now slicing his own opportunity to earn money. His inability to maintain good relationships with his previous wives is losing him the family ways plots that kept the show intriguing from the beginning. His attempts at running Christine's narrative are not working by attracting more attention to her truth-saying and making him appear even more bossy and manipulating to leftover viewers. The television perks that previously assisted his head-of-household existence now hang in the balance from the authenticity he tried many years to suppress. Christine's financial independence has allowed her to expose the arrangement that previously served them both, but now primarily jeopardizes his continued access to television world goodness that have maintained his life for over 10 years. And that money push is growing more powerful as right-wrong outcomes from law begin to catch up with years of tricking built into being. The law outcomes derived from Christine's portions go far beyond typical reality TV deal battles, into realms that could essentially revolutionize the way entertainment firms manage shows based on families. When a show's central theme is of hard money times, while the family is enjoying large hidden pay, issues arise of incorrect showing and shielded buyers that strike at the heart of fun world rights and wrongs. Deal law experts are already considering what Christine's tells indicate for getting deals that appear to require family to maintain fake stories regarding their actual setups. The question of law is whether those who watch have any way back when reality television programs have built-in tricking concerning fundamental aspects of the people's lives, particularly when that tricking impacts what buyers purchase attached to family labor and backed products. The network selling link brings more potential law mess. Christine promoted various selling items, with portraying herself as someone actually struggling a lot financially, not indicating that she had substantial show good that stole all the money pushes she claimed to do her work. Buyer protection laws generally require reporting about big good that could influence the extent of a backing being real. Work and deal law issues become further ambiguous when family essentially have to perform feeling work that contradicts their actual lives as part of receiving continuous remuneration. Christine speaks about being trapped by deal obligations that prevented her from expressing genuine feelings or making genuine life choices without jeopardizing her family's money security via show good. The combination of family ways and fun law creates new right-wrong places when children are in extended time tricking exhibitions. Christine's book reveals that her children were essentially raised in an act arrangement that required them to present false versions of their family life for others to watch, raising issues of knowing, agree, and child safety in reality television shows. Religious freedom issues also make the law perspective more difficult, particularly regarding the Browns owning the fact that they knew their church practiced harmful ways while presenting it to all as corrected. Utilizing an ad on television for wrong to demonstrate religious practices while knowing the practices harmed easy-to-hurt group members may proceed into realms of wrongdoing and endangering people. The creator's departure contributes further to potential law solutions. Tim Gibbons spent years promoting a narrative that he afterwards discovered was fundamentally misleading. His going out, though, is additionally an instance of seeing that holding in would risk him for employment and legislation consequences for allowing inherent wrong display of family configurations. Channel blame becomes increasingly fascinating when considering how much making firms did know relating to the gap between the Browns' everybody tale and private actual. Did bosses of channels realize that they profited from things that built-in wrong displayed people's actual configurations? Did viewer studies and costs of ads get altered by fabricated stories of money hardships? The largest law means would derive from the blending of deal responsibilities and private getting free. Christine's book claims that fun bargains can create trap places where family can't make true life choices without huge money evil, raising the question of whether such agreements are a form of money coercion. Purchaser group statute opportunities are already discussed in law discussions, particularly regarding observers who purchased network selling items or supported family production on the basis of false displays of money arrangements. The potential damages extend beyond mere vexation into actual money damage for consumers who opted to purchase based on built-in tricky program displays. But the greatest law means are yet emerging as viewers begin looking to see if the Browns' built-in tricking violated certain show guidelines and consumer protection statutes that may initiate country oversight of reality program practices. Christine Brown has established her boundary, and it's stronger than Kody's self-perception can handle. Her book is not only ending a portion of their marriage, it's ending tough a whole period of fabricated multiple wives hustle while initiating genuine story sharing that frightens everyone who profited from the initial deceiving. The final word concealed in Christine's end segment sounds like a word of independence from the entire Sister Wives work arrangement. She's pretty much informing everyone that season 20 is her last performance on this special place of domination. Then she's halting the work of presenting her tough times for people to observe and Kody's money well. What makes this last so potent is the way it strips Kody of his remaining control over family plots. For years, he leveraged the threat of pulling away and leaving in order to keep wives in line with making needs and story obligations. But Christine's financial independence through her connection with David and her own job opportunities means that Kody's yes or no longer lands on her cash security or personal happiness. The producers are in a tough position as they attempt to create season 20 content with Christine's no to keep going beyond this last season. How do you create great TV when your most genuine and honest family member is openly taping the inherent trickery that your entire series was constructed on? How do you keep watcher put in when folks now know previous seasons had huge acts paid for by secret pay setups? Christine's statement that she doesn't want to return to her past with Kody anymore makes more story difficult for a show that depends on going through family brawls and connection ways. If she's actually moving on with her life and telling Kody no to his continued controlling methods, what storylines are there left that don't force her back into practices she's already managed to escape? The payback arithmetic meets pure even when you consider how Christine's authenticity is now jeopardizing the money consistent of all those who profited from her previous going along with made-up narratives. Her reality statement is blunt, hitting the make money opportunity of producers, channel, executives, and remaining family members who are still stuck on Sister Wives' money means. Kody's demands for silence become more anxious as he realizes that Christine's true voice is more compelling than any storyline he could create about improving or family repair. His attempts to run her story from a place of no actual power simply illustrate how completely the power has shifted to her side. The broader fun world is paying this close attention because Christine's shares hold the potential to create a path for how reality TV individuals can reclaim their stories and demonstrate built-in tricking without law push back from creating companies. Her book is a blueprint for actual storytelling that might encourage other reality TV veterans to tell their own behind-the-scenes realities. But perhaps most interesting about this entire check is the way in which Christine's no to being silenced is forcing answers through the entire apparatus that enabled and profited off of her domination. From Maker Tim's not-worked social test to channel bosses who didn't notice, families had played fake worlds for fun money. The woman who had spent so many years being told what she could and could not say is now choosing just which facts are shared and which stories need to be told. And something tells me Christine's next installment will be far more intriguing than anything the Sister Wives production team could possibly come up with. So what do you suppose happens when the one who speaks truth says no to being silenced? Should Christine continue to show the real behind their reality television construct? Or is season 20 the best place to end this special story? Let me know in the comments and tap like, hit subscribe, keep notifications on because a fresh video is already queued up. And something tells me the next round of Sister Wives revelations will be even juicier than the last.